Shalom from Jerusalem. This is Uriel, LCP Independent News, Jerusalem, Israel. This morning we're doing a simple interview. Sir, do you live in Israel?
I do.
And what is your title here in Israel? What do you do in Israel?
Title, I work in construction.
You work in construction, good for you. Now, I wanted to ask you, what do you think about the so-called Palestinian Abu Mazen who went to the United Nations and asked the United Nations to declare them as a nation within Israel?
Right. Well, I think them taking unilateral steps as opposed to a negotiated peace is not the answer. You know, they're just showing that they don't really care to negotiate. All they want to do is make these moves and try and aggravate Israel, and really they're not looking to negotiate a peace as far as I'm concerned.
Do you know that Abu Mazen is a supporter of terrorism?
Of course. Of course.
And what do you think about him approaching the United Nations and the United Nations not condemning him for supporting terror?
Well, I guess whoever their leader is probably going to share the same views as him. So I suppose it's better the devil you know. So, because the next leader could be worse. So I think we have to accept that that's their methodology, that's the way that they think, and at least we know who we're dealing with.
And we know that for the last couple of days, the Islamic Jihad terrorists have been firing rockets over to the Ashkelon,
Yes.
and again earlier. What do you think about that?
I think it's terrible. You know, the world should be coming out and condemning that as terrorism, yet the world, they remain silent when this happens. Yet Israel will no doubt retaliate, will take out the terrorists, and then of course the world will condemn Israel for those actions.
You know, America just pressured Israel on saying that they will only support Israel at the United Nations if they stop building homes within Israel. What do you think about that?
Well, first of all, we did stop it for 10 months, and where did it get us? Nowhere. Secondly, everywhere where they're building these so-called settlements in the West Bank, these are areas that were purchased legally off Arabs, who, let me remind you, happen to kill the sellers if they're caught. So really, the whole picture isn't being explained to the United States and to the rest of the world. They're only getting a small snippet. Obviously, they're getting the left wing, the Palestinian view, and they're not really getting the actual view on the ground of what's happening. This is land that has been purchased off the Arabs, and that we are legally building on. And just for everyone out there to know that Israel cannot build without legal building permits from the Israeli government, who only issue them when land has been purchased legally. That's why the government on a regular basis are dismantling illegally built homes in those areas, which of course the news don't promote and the media don't promote that, because God forbid that wouldn't provide the angle that they're looking for.
Yet the Palestinians, the so-called Palestinians, they're building homes on their so-called land, and no one's tearing down their homes. One final question. The Supreme Court just stated that 1,000 Israelis or Jews will be displaced from their homes. What do you think about these Supreme Court telling the Israeli government to displace more Jews out of their homes?
Well, look, it's common knowledge that the Supreme Court here is very left-wing liberal. Everyone here knows that. The fact that I think Israel is probably the only country where the courts can overrule the government is ridiculous. But the truth is, I don't know the history of this area that you're talking about and whether these are legal outposts or illegal outposts. But either way, as far as I'm concerned, Israel belongs to the Jews regardless. So the people there have my full support.
Well, thank you very much for your interview.
Not a problem.
As you know, Abu Mazen continues to defy not just Israel, but he continues to defy the entire world by deceiving the world. UN Resolution 242 does not even mention the so-called Palestinian people. On November 15th, the United Nations 15-member panel will take a vote, and we pray that this vote will be a negative vote on behalf of the so-called Palestinians. This is Uriel, LCP Independent News, Jerusalem, Israel.